This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I am delighted to be joined by the Spider, Craig Richards, for the first time in 2022. Craig, firstly, Happy New Year. Hope you had a good one and a good Christmas. Did you get up to much?
No, not much. This year's been quite quiet. Just spent it with the siblings and stuff. My mum was away. New Year's had a quiet one. Cousins moved like 10 minutes from me, so I just popped in with him, done New Year's, and ran off into the night back home to have a good sleep and get ready for the new year.
Mate, ran off into noise for some reason. It's just reminded me of the Only Fools and Horses episode when Dylan Rodney are Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah, I watched that show for years.
Craig, obviously, as a starting point for this interview, we saw your tweet last week. Bags were packed. Location and flight times and fight week schedule, please. Unfortunately, yes, they never arrived for you, but no. Was you in the discussion to step in for Callum Johnson to face Joe Smith Jr.?
Well, as soon as I saw that they pulled out and they was looking for an opponent, and I saw obviously no one was willing to, obviously at short notice, no level of our fighters, any fighters at our level was ready to step up. I said, look, I'm ready to step up. I realised I was the only person who put my name in the hat. So I thought, yeah, of course, I'm the chosen choice. So obviously I pressed out to them, sent them some messages to say, look, I'm ready to go. When I packed my bags, zipped up, was ready to go. And then I saw that they decided to pick Jeff Hard or something. I'd have never heard of him.
So did you have conversations with your team and with their team just to expand a bit more on that?
Yeah, I spoke to them. Obviously, I spoke to my team. Who was like, yeah, I said, look, I'm ready to go. I just seen the news. I was like, all right, cool. Let's see if we can get the call. A lot of my team, I think we was trying to reach out. I was putting the messages out. I think they was trying to reach out, but they never come back with nothing. And before I knew it, the day after that, I saw they had announced some other guy.
When you'd obviously spoken to your team, and Craig, was you optimistic that Joe Smith's team might have reached out to you and a potential fight could have been made?
I thought definitely. I thought it was a good time. He knows I'm taking it on short notice, 1 week's notice. They want the show to go on. I'm a decent name at light heavyweight. Obviously, he's a good name at light heavyweight. So I thought it was a foregone conclusion. I didn't think there was any other names at our level what would have really jumped in. So I thought, yeah, of course I'm going to be the chosen choice. So when they picked that guy who we haven't heard of, I was pretty surprised.
How disappointing was it, Craig, not to have been chosen? You've shown against Dimitri Bivol that you can compete at world level. It was just your first chance up there, and a new experience for yourself with him. So going into this one, how disappointing was it that you wasn't able to kind of at least have had a conversation with Joe Smith's team?
Well, I think that I spoke to a lot of people in the industry, and they were just saying it's really it's a very, very difficult and awkward fight for him. I'm not the sort of guy you really want to take without preparation for. I'm quite different from other people, which I understand that. And I realize, obviously, me having such a close fight, one round in it with a fighter like Dimitri Bivol usually cleans out everyone every round, and he's boxed him himself, so he knows how good Bivol is, because I think Bivol won nearly every round against him. So him looking at that, he's not really going to want a voluntary defense against myself, maybe because he's seen these performances I'm putting in, which is it's a compliment in itself in one way, but at the same time, you want these fights because you want to clear up and get the belts. And I know at the moment with the light heavyweight division, there's a queue. Everyone's banging on the door trying to get their shot. So, me, I'm an opportunist. When I saw that, I was willing to grab the opportunity with two hands, grab the belt.
I mean, Craig, for yourself, let's just say in the ideal world for yourself, you had actually been given that opportunity. What was your weight at, and how was you kind of looking in camp? Was you ticking over, or was you in full camp mode? How was things going for yourself?
Just normal training, me, when I'm not in camp, I'm training every day anyway. So training every day. I'm never too far over my weight. I'm always roughly about 10 pounds over my weight when I'm training. I don't blow up ridiculously like a balloon. I keep myself in good shape, good health, and that's why I can often be ready at the drop of the hat like that. Dropping maybe 7 pounds in a week won't be too much, especially for myself. And I'm really kicking in with the training. My metabolism goes quite quick, so I can make things happen. Obviously, it's always better to get the full preparation of camp, but sometimes opportunities don't come around too often like that for world titles. So in situations like that, I'm willing to take the risks, but usually it's better to have a full camp and take your weight down properly, but I'm never too heavy.
Would you have seen Joe Smith as an easier fight than Dimitri Bivol?
he is an easier fighter than Dimitri Bivol. He's definitely an easier fighter than Dimitri Bivol. It's different, but stylistic. They're two different kind of styles, you know. Bivol's a sharpshooter. He's a boxer. He punches with intent. He's quick. He's combination puncher. His work rate is high. With Joe Smith, is more strong. You know, come forward. He's got a good right hand. He's got an awkward jab. Like, it's a different style, but I just think stylistically, it is an easier fight for myself.
What did you make when you saw the announcement of Steve Gerrard stepping in? What do you know about him, if anything at all?
I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? First, I typed in Steven Gerrard at first. I see a footballer come in. I was like, no, this ain't the guy. Then I researched a bit more. Then I realized that he was a fighter over in the States. He hasn't really been in any competitive fights as such. And I was very surprised. But at the end of the day, it's a voluntary defense. He's going to try to get the easier route he can. His payday is probably still the same. So why take more risks?
Moving away from Joe Smith and to focus on yourself then, Craig, obviously we've just seen the Matchroom schedule announced for the first quarter of shows up until the end of March. Have you had discussions with your team about trying to get onto one of those shows?
No, we already decided that I was going to probably box the end of March, early April, probably April, March anyway. So them dates wasn't the dates I was looking at anyway. I'll be looking to probably get out like probably towards April. Just trying to nail down an opponent. We're going for a few possible opponents, and we're just seeing availabilities and who we can get. Because at this stage, I want big fights. You know, I'm at that stage in my career where I want big fights. I don't meaningless fights. So we're seeing who's available at that level.
Who do you see as a potential good opponent for yourself, Craig? You know, when you look at that level, I assume you want people who have either been world champions or have fought at world level. Maybe somebody like a Maxim Vlasov, who Josh Buatsi was due to face until his injury. Would that be the ideal type of opponent, or is it somebody maybe less risky? You know, who are you looking at?
Maybe not Maxi, because I think that's kind of linked to Buatsi now. That guy, I don't really know too much about him. I know he come up short against Joe Smith. I know he's linked to fight Buatsi, so that's probably not someone I'll be looking at. I know they're probably a bit tied up over on that side, but someone around that level, you know, a couple of these big names, or even good names in the USA who got big profiles there, or anyone with a title, even from a European IBO, interim, anything that I haven't won yet is the sort of opponents I'll be looking at.
Have you spoken to Eddie about potentially fighting over on one of the stateside cards?
I did mention it to Frank Smith the other day. I did say I would like to, you know, going over to America for the last few weeks and just watching all the shows over there. It was great because I've always watched American boxing and I've always wanted to box out in America. When I grew up, it was all about, first of all, Madison Square Gardens, all the big fights, and then obviously we moved over to the MGM for the Floyd era. Etc. So that's kind of where I grew up and got inspired from boxing. Of course, you want to dominate in your country first, and I feel like I've done a lot of the big shows here. I've done the Cardiff Stadium, I've done O2 Arena, Copper Box, Wembley Arena, etc., etc. And I've won the British title here, and I've won the Southern Area British WBA International, all over in my own country already. And you look at the sort of fights I've been involved with, I think it's something like between the 4 champions that I beat for them 4 belts, their records are something like 60 wins and 3 losses or something between the 4 belts I've won alone just in Britain. So I feel like I've kind of stamped my name in Britain now, and I'd like to branch and get a bit more global exposure.
Is there anyone you look at on that British scene? Is it simply a matter of the only 2 names maybe you'd face would either be Josh or maybe Anthony Yard on the back of his win against Arthur? Would they be the only couple of names you'd be interested in?
Well, I think it's a situation where and obviously Yard's over on his side on the Warren, he's got his route, you know, I've got my route, Josh has got, but me and Josh obviously we're both at Matchroom. So this is why people obviously link our names together. And I feel like us 3 are kind of showing that we're kind of moving towards the level we're stepping towards. And I believe at this stage, I think we're at that in-between stage, because it's like big domestic clashes, with one of us would either be for a British or a world title. And I feel like we kind of, obviously I had a big clash with Shakan, didn't clash any of them at British. And I feel like the next stage now is to either clash them for a world or something at that level, really, to make it more exciting for the fans and ourselves.
So, I mean, with that in mind, then, Craig, you know, the Buatsi fight's been spoken about for a while, for him with other domestic names, but for you, it's the last few months where people have started to kind of put the pair of you together. If you're looking at it for one of you to have a world title, when do you think that could be?
I'm not sure. I don't know how this boxing thing plays out because look, if a few days ago if I got my name was in the hat and got picked for the Joe Smith, I could be world champion next week. So it's one of them situations I can't really tell, but um, it's exciting times I think for us. Like there is obviously these big fights coming up. It's inevitable we're gonna all get into big domestic clashes at some point. Or whoever makes it through to the next stage. And I think that's what it's all about, seeing what names make it through, who's really credible. Because I think at this stage in my career, I've had two of the top fives. When I beat them, they was top five in Britain, talking about could they be one of the best in Britain, etc. And when I beat them, it all got dismissed. I must have been a hype job. He wasn't that good. So for me, I feel like I get discredited when I beat people before they're proven to be who they are. So for me, I prefer them to be proven. I've proven myself countless times, but at the same time, if the fights make sense, I'm there.
Just moving away from yourself and Greg, should we get your thoughts on a few of the guys who obviously train in the Matchroom gym as well, who have fights coming up? John Ryder getting ready to face Danny Jacobs in February. What do you make of that fight?
Very good fight. You know, John's looking good in the gym right now. We're going to mix it up and do some rounds with him in a little while after I finish this. And obviously, I know how hard he works. He's working very hard. He's in good shape already, so he can pull it off. And I feel like it's the right time for him as well. Jacobs wasn't looking that great against Gabriel Rosado in his last fight. The questions are, is he how hungry is he? Because, you know, he's had some big fights, big paydays. So this is to see what level Jacobs is at. And John Ryder's definitely hungry, and this is his chance. He knows it's all on the line for him.
And then also Conor Benn, you know, he's had a terrific year once again last year, and he's mentioned that Adrian Broner fight. What be your thoughts, Conor versus Adrian Broner?
Yeah, it depends if Adrian can pull himself back in the gym, back into boxing, get the cobwebs off, and get back in the ring with him. Yeah, it's a good name. It's another good name for him to take his stamp. You know, Broner's there and there where he's obviously probably looking to knock it on the head soon. So it'll be perfect time for Conor to grab him and grab his stamp before he runs off.
And then just get your thoughts on a couple of the things which are kind of in boxing news at the minute. Potential Tyson Fury and Dillian White fight. We see that most likely that will go to purse bids. We saw an 80-20 split from the WBC kind of, you know, agreed upon, but Eddie said that will be challenged and they will, you know, look to kind of get a better stake in that for Dillian if it was to go to purse bids. But just your thoughts firstly, you know, if we did see Tyson and Dillian share the ring, what is your take?
That's gonna be a very good fight. The purse bids was a bit different for me, a bit wild, a little bit. I've never really heard of something like that. A mandatory challenger getting 20% from a purse bid, so it's a bit different. I know there was an argument as such between is it 40%, 45%, or a minimum of 35. So I don't know how 20% came in, but you know, I'm not an expert in that field. I just fight. So it was a bit of a shock to me. And also, I know they've had their sparring stories between Dylan and Tyson Fury. There's been a little needle there for a while. They're always back and forth on social media. So I believe they'll both be coming to have a great tear up on that night.
And then obviously away from that one, we're waiting to see what will happen with Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk in their rematch whenever that is announced. What are your thoughts this time around? Is it as simple as we need to see the more aggressive version of Anthony Joshua return?
Yeah, I think Anthony just went in with the wrong game plan this time. The last time, sorry. And I think this time, like, because you notice when he was landing the shots he was landing, even though he wasn't like hitting with such ferocious shots he usually does, he still was hurting Usyk when he did land, not hurting him in such like he was going to knock him out. But you can see Usyk was feeling the shots every time he did kind of land. So I think if Joshua went in there and be a bit more aggressive and really dug his toes into the canvas, I believe that he could have saw a different result, and he can see a different result if he changes his attitude in the next fight.
And then just to get your thoughts again on a fight which Eddie mentioned he wouldn't mind seeing between Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora. He's had a mixed reaction over social media, Craig. You know, Derek's had a tough career. He's been in a lot of tough fights, and that's what people are kind of looking at with the Deontay one. Would you be interested to see him step in with Deontay Wilder?
as you say, you see a lot of people online saying he's been in a lot of tough fights and they're concerned about the sort of punishment he's taken in the sport. So if that is the case, like I'm no one to judge if he is or isn't taking a toll on him. But if there is question marks on that, I wouldn't really put him in with one of the biggest punchers in the heavyweight division right now. I think you should really give him a fight where, you know, maybe someone who's not such a big puncher but quite skillful, let him go in there and have a little move, see where he's at. I feel like sometimes boxing's a bit harsh. You know, we're just I don't know how to say it, but we're just fighters, aren't we? So we're not really considered outside of the ring. We're just considered as, look, that would be stylistically good. No one really looks at the health of the fighters or concerned any further than, you know, this will just be entertaining for the fans. I know it's our job, but at the same time, you got to half remember that people have got, like, their health can be, when their health's at risk, we've got to take that into account and, you know, consider those things. So I wouldn't put him with a massive punch for his next one, like Wilder.
I mean, Craig, also get your thoughts on two fights which are coming up. Amir Khan and Cal Brook, you know, it's finally happening February 19th. What are your thoughts?
That fight's interesting because I think they're both at the tail end of their career. You know, people always say that Khan's always been a little bit chinny. There's question marks if Kell Brook is after his defeat to Terence Crawford. But they both possess reasonable power, and they both got skills. Like Kell Brook's more of a counter puncher and can put them together like that, and Amir Khan just got blistering speed when he throws his hands together usually. But obviously they're both not in their prime, so we're not going to see the prime speed and the prime counter punching. So it's a good one because they're both on a slide a bit to see where they're both at. So it makes it more interesting who's going to win. It's a real 50-50 who's got what left.
And then also get your thoughts on Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams. What are your take on that?
That's great. We love a grudge match, you know. They don't like each other. They actually hate each other. They both can be aggressive fighters and they both like a tear up. So I think we're in for a treat for that one. I'll be tuning in and I'm looking forward to seeing them. I don't know, you know, it's a tough one. I think like Eubank has had the better wins maybe at a higher level. But Liam Williams is very aggressive. He's a tough lad. So it'll be a hard night for a lot of people. So it's a hard one. It depends on what sort of how Eubank kind of tries to dissect Liam Williams.
Right, Greg, we'll leave that there and I'll leave you to shoot off and enjoy the rest of your evening, well, your day rather. Greg, I appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to me at Boxing Social.
Thank you.